Welcome back to Science of Relevancy. This is your host, Rex Allen, and join us each week as we talk about being relevant in today's world of innovation. So, for those who've not worked with us before or seen our videos, just a quick introduction. We don't spend much time on this. At the Science of Relevancy, we have the two founding members have over 65 years worth of strategy development, sales, marketing, consulting, training, product development, systems implementations, and insight in high tech. And so, why do people pay attention to high tech? Because it drives the U.S. economy and creates all the innovation of how we see the world today. What we do at the Science of Relevancy is we teach the entire science of being relevant. So, how do you gain relevancy in this digital age, and how do you keep it and maintain it and excel? It's a very difficult proposition when things are changing so fast that most people cannot keep up. Here's what we do: we help a lot of people. We have a great set of services that people can subscribe to. We have a weekly executives summary subscription. So what we do with this subscription is each week we take snapshots of all the things that have happened from the innovators like Amazon, Walmart, Netflix, on and on, the companies that are shaking and moving and determining our world. We take a snapshot of them and do a video and audio review. So that way you don't have to read anything. So we make it easy for you to stay abreast of all the innovation in this digital age. We also do custom strategy development and execution engagements. If your company wants to stay relevant and you don't have the skill set, bring us in and we'll help you change the way you're doing things today and remain and gain relevancy. We have educational subscription courses and then our new dynamic audio books. This is a great way to be able to multitask and keep track of the science of relevancy and the science of convenience. I quoted this out a little bit ago, and it's something that I really hope people understand. We use the term rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, and back in that fatal day when the Titanic was sinking, there were people who were literally, in the face of catastrophe, were ignoring the situation. And so I put this quote out, and it just says, "Doing things the way you did 2 years ago is a futile action in the face of impending catastrophe. Tidal waves of innovation are going to sink those who choose to do the status quo." So if you're not constantly changing, you're not constantly innovating, you're not remaining relevant, you're going to sink. The I love this quote, and I think it's one that we should pay attention to and look at the year that it was put out. William Pollard said, "Learning and innovation go hand in hand. The arrogance of success is to think that what you did yesterday will be sufficient for tomorrow." We've seen this true over the last 60 years in information systems technology. Whoever was the leader in the previous business model never was the leader in the next business model. We've seen that today with Sears, Amazon, many, many examples. So if your arrogance is that you are breathing on the success you have today, you certainly will probably not be the leader tomorrow. Well, the thing I want to talk about today is the status quo, and it's really the worst action plan that you can take. So sometimes we talk about things what to do. I'm going to give you an example of an organization of maybe some things that what not to do. I recently had the opportunity to investigate and look at a company in the home improvement remodeling space that's been in business for over 40 years. Now they're very successful, and being in business over 40 years in home improvements is quite an accomplishment because that's an industry where a typical contractor will stay in business about 3 to 5 years. So longevity, hands off, congratulations to these folks. They've done a great uh, accomplishment. But there's some room for improvement, and there's a mentality shift that needs to take place because they're still using tools and sales techniques from the late 80s and 90s. Well, while they're having success today, they really need to think about ways to innovate to basically stay ahead and be able to connect with the 35-year-old, the 45-year-old, the 55-year-old, and 65-year-old because most of them all are doing things now mobile and on internet, and the engagement rules have changed completely. So let's look back at some of the things that they're doing, sort of this 80s mentality and sort of the vapors of success taking over. This is how they go to market, and some of these are good and some of them are bad. Direct mail, there's a lot of question about the effectiveness of that, and I'll even show you a piece that's from there. They do have a website, well built, limited SEO, and some limited social media, so that they're kind of current a little bit on those technologies. This is something I love that they do. They have a call center for appointment setting, so once they've talked to somebody, they do set appointments, and they're excellent at that. They do celebrity marketing, and that's so passe. That's so 1990s. Nobody knows that works anymore, and it's really pretty ineffective. Another thing that they're a little bit challenged is that their sales pitch is non-educational. It's really what's for sale today. They're not teaching their clients how to buy. They're not teaching their clients how to build trust. And so they have a sales cycle that's really focused on what they want to sell. So the sales cycle, rather than their focus being on the buying cycle, what does the customer need to learn to make a decision? And then they're using semantic games and sales techniques that really come from the Tom Hopkins era. Tom Hopkins, if you don't remember, Tom was one of the top sales training um, coaches and teachers in the world in his time in the late 80s. And a lot of his techniques and success were around semantics games, and customers are smarter than that. They don't do that anymore. But the biggest challenge that they have and is they have selected the status quo. The vice president of sales, who I've spoke with, is convinced they do not need to do anything new. They just need more of what they have. Well, things have changed, and let's look at an example of one of their marketing pieces. Okay, so this is their direct mail piece, and I have blocked out the names to protect the guilty. And the first question I would ask anyone in looking at this direct mail campaign, because it's the first thing that the customer sees, is would Amazon, Walmart, or Netflix send out this type of communication? Wow. I don't even know where to start, and I don't want to get too nitpicky. The big thing is I'm trying to point out here is that this is the techniques that were used from the 80s, and it's just not relevant anymore. First of all, there's just too much information on it. It's visual vomit. Your eyes can't even focus. There's so many different colors. There are different center points of focus points. You can't even focus. The use of all caps. We don't read that way. Think was the last time you read an entire book that was written in all caps. Well, all caps doesn't work anymore. People are used to reading, and they're used to reading in upper lowercase. All caps. That's so passe. The graphics design, horrible. Look at all the little starbursts and the color variations and stuff. This layout looks like it was done from somebody from 1985. It is absolutely terrible. It looks cheesy, and it's not something that's going to attract the sophisticated buyer who's basically spending all their time being engaged on their cell phone. So it's really kind of rough. The other thing is, what does this marketing piece, what problem does it solve? How does it get anybody's information? What's the message? Where's the education? And again, I've talked about the celebrity endorsement. Oh my goodness. Everybody knows today that celebrity endorsements are paid activities. And so while I love Terry Bradshaw, I was a Steelers fan from way back in the time when I was a kid. I used to hang on his every word, but I really don't think Terry Bradshaw has any relevant education and knowledge to share about my home improvement projects. So everybody knows it's a paid endorsement, and so the effectiveness of those campaigns are really kind of gone. And then it's a mail response card. So the call to action of this entire piece is a send in for a free video and mail this in. Now, wait a minute. We're in the digital age. We live in instant information. We live in a marketplace where people are hyper connected. Do you think anybody's going to want to wait a couple weeks to get a communication back from this organization? No, their attention's going to be gobbled up by someone else later down the road. Now, my point is not to rip these guys to shreds. The point is to show that these are techniques from a long time ago. These are techniques, while they may be effective, What the challenge is for them is that they're not really earning the great customers that they can be getting because they just haven't updated their approach to the marketplace. So I would contest that they're really not relevant anymore because their buyer. I am a homeowner. I am looking at this, and there is nothing about this engagement piece that invites me to decide to start to do business with them. Well, so how would you fix that? Well, let's look at a couple things. First of all, they really need to revamp their messaging and their targeted marketing content. This needs to be aimed at the 35-year-old, the 45-year-old, the 50, the 65-year-old. It needs to be a little more targeted and it needs to be more relevant. Uh, this company, I would highly recommend get into advanced media video marketing. This is the biggest trend coming forward over the next 5 to 10 years, and it's where people are going to be making the biggest case. Now, don't confuse video media marketing with just putting out some videos on YouTube. That's not how it's done. There's a lot more to it. But they need to do that because they need to make it so people can create self-service education. When someone's sitting at the doctor's office or waiting for their kids at soccer practice or waiting to pick up their kids from dance, they're going to use their time. They want to educate themselves. So if their interest has been piqued and they are engaged, they're going to want to be able to do some research, and they really can't do it based on the tools that they have deployed today. The other thing that I would recommend and coach them to do is in their process, in their sales engagement, they have a great 8-step process, but they need to develop trust and become that trusted advisor. Basically, their entire marketing campaigns and products and approach is what's for sale today. And you got to drop the sales games. Nobody pays attention to the semantics and stuff. People are smarter than that. Trial closes and those types of activities, they really do not move a sale forward. You have to think about it. People don't want to be sold. People want to buy. So if you teach the customer how to get the information to make a proper decision, they're going to buy almost every time. And the other thing that I would coach them to do is to create a better customer experience. So now the point of this is really not to just eviscerate this company. The point is to show that you can't do things like you did 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Now, you might be successful and have some success, but how would you like to double, triple, or quadruple your effectiveness in the dollars that you spend? And I would sit down with the executives and the owners of this company and I would say, listen, with some minor modifications, because they do have a good sales process, but with some minor modifications, you can actually increase your sales dramatically because the techniques that you're using are not relevant. So you have to look at it this way. You really have two paths in the marketplace today. The first is the worst, do nothing, the status quo. You cannot continue to expect the things that you did yesterday, 2 years ago, to be enough to be sufficient to be successful. Look back at that quote from William Pollard. Okay. What you need to do, if you take that and do nothing and continue to just march on, you're really headed down the path to the left on the road to failure. But if you're the smart innovator, you're going to reinvent, you're going to tweak, you're going to modify your custom engagement, you're going to focus on your total customer experience, and you're going to do this on a continual basis, at least annually. So you really have two choices. If you don't do these things, you're going to basically be in a world of hurt. Now, the people who do this process, continuously evolve, are these types of innovators. You know, the Ubers, the Apples, Amazon, Walmart, Google, Nest, Hulu, Netflix, uh, you know me, tons of organizations who focus most of their time on customer engagement, the customer experience, and the science of convenience. They innovate, they move forward. The others that kind of take the do nothing path, well, you might end up like these folks. You know, Sears, J.C. Penney's struggling, Sears on its way out, Subway closing over 500 stores, Toys R Us gone, Redbox predicted to go out of business in the next 12 months, Mattress Firm closing 1,100 stores, Best Buy teetering. These are companies who have sat back and thought that they could continue to do the things the way they've always done them. So you really have two choices. You can be on the path of success for like the innovator group, or you can be on a path where you're ignoring and you're just basically living on the success of today and yesterday. Well, the important thing today, when we looked at this case study, we don't care who you are, what size of organization you are, and the types of products or services you sell. Everyone needs to be relevant. It's a really important science, and it's something that you need to work on. You cannot rest on your laurels of success of yesterday. So like I said, we have the weekly subscription that you sign up for. You get all the updates, what innovators are doing, what's happening in the marketplace, things that are impactful, and what it means to you. We can do specific engagements to help your organization avoid pitfalls and going forward, create strategies on how to do this, and make it so you don't have to hire people full time to do that. We have educational courses and, of course, our dynamic audio books. We want to make it easy for you to continue to work on being relevant. You don't want to be that company who does not change and ends up like our friends on this slide. So that's what we focus on, the science of relevancy. If you like what we're doing, we are putting out content videos every few days, new subscriptions. So go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel and to the podcast. And if you need more information, you can go to our website and contact us through our systems, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Boy, I can't even talk today. Again, it's the most important thing to do in this day and age is to be relevant. So until next time, tune back in, get one of our subscriptions, subscribe to the channels, and the most important thing to be today is be relevant.